So based on all the stuff that we've talked about, do you still agree that this tantrums or whatever these behaviors are because of your pregnancy, or is it just because of the process of being a toddler?
I think the
growing
more
up?
we talked about it, the more I feel like it's the typical tantrums that come with age.
Okay. Or is it 50-50? Or it depends on the day?
The other thing I was thinking about too while we were talking is a lot of times she'll hit me, she aims towards my belly, but like height wise, my belly is directly in front of where her hand can reach.
Right.
So I don't think she's hitting my belly on purpose. I think she's
Okay.
hitting my belly just because like that's the first thing she finds.
Okay.
Um
That's just the physique.
yeah, just based on her height and my height,
Yeah.
the closest thing she can reach is my stomach.
So the conclusion is, hello, I'm Tijani Musa.
And I'm Yazmin Musa, and this is how we're doing it.
Welcome to How We're Doing It. Here we share stories about our journey and experiences of being first-generation college graduates, our family, buying our first home, moving across the country, and living a debt-free lifestyle. We do so in an authentic, fun, and educational way to help other first-generation immigrants with similar paths. So tell me, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about toddlers who terrorize you.
I like that. I like that. I like the toddler terrorism. All right. So basically, we're about to go into give you some examples of what to expect when you have a toddler. Of course, we always share our experiences here at the Musa household. That's what we do. We have a toddler who is 2.7 years old.
What?
Yeah, I think so. 2 years, 7 months. Oh, you're doing
Is that right?
You're doing the math now, huh? She's doing the math. She's counting her fingers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 2.7 years old.
I keep thinking she's 2.5, like exactly 2.5. And you're right, she's 2 and 7 months old. That's wild.
Yes. 5 more months and she will be 3 years old by the grace of God.
Inshallah.
Yes. So, how do you want to kick this off?
Well, I think one thing that we need to bring up is her attitude,
yes,
behavior towards me changed after I got pregnant.
Ooh, is that so?
I believe so.
Okay.
I feel like she can sense that my hormones are off. That something is different.
Okay.
And we tell her, Mommy has a baby in the belly. She'll kiss my belly. But she also has moments where she'll just lash out and she'll start hitting me for absolutely no reason.
All right, let's do this. Give us a frame of reference. Before announcing baby number 2, how was she? How was your relationship with her? How sweet was she with you?
She's always been a very sweet girl.
Okay.
She was always giving hugs, giving kisses, gentle. If she hurt you, she would say, "Sorry, Mama." Obviously, we did have a little bit of hitting here and there.
Right.
Times where she would maybe try and hurt you by, she tries to like scratch you by like placing her hands around your arm.
Right.
But it was never anything that I felt like was intentional necessarily.
Yeah.
I think she was just trying to use her, she just didn't know how to use her language.
Okay.
To communicate what she needed.
Okay. Like she could not express herself.
Right. Exactly.
And so she results into like a little bit of scratching here. Okay.
I think the big change came at 2.5 months.
Okay.
Would you agree with that? Like about that time frame?
Yeah.
Like
right
around what, like
2 months ago, like going back 2 months. Yes.
No, because she's around April she was still good. I would say it was like around May.
Okay.
And
all right.
Maybe mid-April. Yeah, like 2.5.
Okay.
Exactly. It's when the outbursts really started to take a different toll.
Okay.
Where now I feel like she's more aggressive. She wants to like deliberately hurt you. Before, if she did something wrong, we would say sorry. and she would do it.
Right.
And now she's just like, no.
Wow.
If you threaten, like, I'm going to put you on timeout, she doesn't care.
Right.
She'll be at timeout and she'll be singing.
Yeah, it's a party. Yeah, it's a party at timeout. And
literally.
I agree with you, because I remember like a few months back, when she does something like unintentionally, she would actually put herself on timeout.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even if you just mentioned the word timeout, she would actually go to timeout without you prompting her to go to timeout. And so, but now at 2.7 years old, when you tell her to go to timeout, she would first say no. And when you actually take her to timeout, she starts singing as you're walking away. If she decides to stay. Because sometimes she's walking away right behind you. You would have to put her back to timeout. When she actually stays in timeout, she's singing la 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 la.
Yeah, she'll come up with some song and she'll just start singing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, it's been hard because I'm also pregnant and very emotional.
Right.
I've always known that she's daddy's girl. And
Okay.
I have no issue with that. Like, I know she loves you more probably, and that's okay. That's okay. I guess you could argue that she doesn't love me more. She loves us equally. But I've always known that, she has, I feel like, a closer relationship with you. And with me, when you're not around, she's very, very sweet to me.
Okay.
Like when we took the trip to Mexico and it was just me and her, it was, my parents were there too, but I was her primary caregiver there.
Right.
Because you weren't an option. And she was super sweet to me, always being kind. Every now and then we'd have a little tantrum, nothing too big.
Right.
Around that time, I was in my first trimester. I think she was more so attention seeking.
Okay.
Just making sure that I was paying her attention, that I was watching what she was doing, that I was, my eyes were on her at all times. She wanted to be a part of the conversation, things like that.
Yes.
I think it's like typical toddler behavior, right? And then I think the switch came around second trimester. I think she's sensing that something's coming up. Would you agree with that, or do you feel like it's all in my head?
No, I mean, I've definitely seen her being a little bit more, definitely a little bit more aggressive toward you. And even to me, because before a couple months back, she would listen, even because I remember even with her grandma, because I work from home, so I can hear her interaction between her and her grandma. And she's been a little bit more aggressive towards her as well, where she's not listening as much as she used to listen. And so before a couple months ago, if she wasn't listening to grandma would be like, I'm gonna call your dad, and she would actually comport herself and start behaving again. But now when grandma says, I'm gonna call your dad, Tijani, she just continues to be
her bad self.
Yeah, bad self, mischievous and not listening. And so I'm not sure if it comes with the age, because she is our first. Yeah, I don't know if it comes with the age, if that's just something that happens, because we've heard stories where they say that boys they tend to be a little more rebellious than girls. And so, but now we can definitely make the case that Jasleen is a little bit. What is that group? Rebelde?
Rebelde.
Yeah, your favorite musical group.
She's a little rebel herself.
Yeah, she's definitely rebellious. And so what I'm trying to say is that I'm not sure if it's because of age or it's because of the pregnancy.
Yeah, I don't know either. And it could be very well be both.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that I do want to bring up is that I mentioned earlier, like, what she was doing before is typical behavior. I do feel like what she's doing now is also typical behavior, because there are different levels of
toddlerhood.
Just toddlerhood. Yeah. Like she's getting older, and I think she's testing her limits in different ways.
Right.
And also learning to express and communicate herself.
Yeah.
In that process. And so I think all of it is typical for her age.
Yeah.
/ typical for a toddler.
Yeah. Yeah, in combination, I think you could make the case for either one of them, because because then if you make the argument that it's because of toddlerhood, right? Then why isn't she aggressive toward me?
She is sometimes.
Yeah, but she doesn't.
Not to the extent
Right.
that she is with me or her grandma.
Right.
And so when I talk to grandma about it, because grandma watches her all day, the other day grandma shared with me, as she was getting her ready to put her down for a nap, Jasleen was just having a huge fit, kicking her grandma, and that's not like her. Right. She loves her grandma. Right. And so my mom and I were talking about what are some things that she can try. You know, what can she do to try and make the transition to nap time a little smoother for her. Right. And, you know, I shared with her, you know, around bedtime, sometimes she will get aggressive with me as well. So what do? I give her a toy to try and get her mind out of it, like redirect her to a toy or redirect her to a book or something else. Right. Or some type of musical toy, something that she prefers, so that the attention is taken away from me trying to get her into pajamas, you know? Yeah. So I gave her that as a tip. My mom, the next day, she reported that did work for her. Okay. But during our initial conversation where we're brainstorming, my mom was like bringing up the fact that she thought Jasleen to a point was like rejecting me because I'm pregnant and we know it's a boy. Right. Which, if it's not the same gender, then to my mom, she's like, well, that's why she doesn't want to love on you right now. She just wants, you know, to be like, far away from you.
Yeah, why didn't you give me a sister? You give me a brother.
I don't know if scientifically kids have a way of telling that. I do think that kids might feel a certain type of way. Yeah. When you're pregnant, I've read that especially as you get closer to giving birth, certain levels of, I want to say it's some type of chemical. Yes, there's a chemical that like increases in your body and the kids can sense it. And so they want to be near you, kind of like nesting, like they want to be near you, close to you, because they can sense that something's coming.
Okay. Yeah.
But Jasleen is the opposite because she rejects me.
Right. I mean, yeah, I guess we're halfway there, like a little bit. Yeah, I think, precisely halfway there in the pregnancy. Maybe as the belly becomes more visible, maybe she will realize that, hey, I need to be nice to my mom. And also, like, I mean, like, right now she is like, it's possible that she is sensing that, okay, my mom is pregnant, right? And she's about to bring another child, and so I'm not gonna be the only person anymore. The attention is gonna be split. But right now, at this very moment, she is splitting her attention between her and Leo, because we have her and Leo. So she's not the only one. So we give them both full attention at all times. And so she's used to having somebody here, at least this past year or so.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do think that influences, because, for example, at night, when we kind of tag team, you put one to bed, I put the other one to bed, I feel like she really misses out on having both of us there. Especially when it's me putting her to bed. So the reason we divide it as is Leo can be a little more challenging to put to bed, so you take him because he needs more discipline. Right. Whereas we say Jasleen's a little more easy.
Yes, because she's little.
Because she's younger, right? I can take her. Right? But I think her relationship with you is so close that in that process, she feels like she's missing out on time with you when she's going to bed. Right.
Yeah, that's a difficult one, too, because we have a routine for both of them. We pray, after you finish your nightly routine, like you brush your teeth and everything like that, you get ready for bed, and then we pray together, those type of things. So I get it if she is a little bit difficult, because I'm not there all the way through, and I have to be with Leo, because when we bring them together, that's when they actually start playing again. It's like the day just started. They get rowdy. They don't listen. Together, both of them, they don't listen. They don't pay attention. And so that's why we divide and conquer. But I can understand why she would have some type of not resentment, but just some type of like, I guess, protest.
Right, exactly.
She's protesting.
So, maybe one thing we can try is switch on and off, like every other night when you're not around, and it's like at the couple times that I've had to put her and Leo to bed by myself, I have Leo help me put her to bed.
Yes.
Because Leo will go through like prayers with me. He'll help me like read a book to her, and then I'll go take care of Leo after her.
Yeah, that's a good approach.
Maybe we can switch. We would need to start earlier so that she can go to bed first, and then Leo. And then, or you can go take Jasleen one night, and I take Leo, and then we flip flop.
Yeah, I guess we can implement both of those where we start early. Me, you, and Leo help her go to bed, and then we take Leo and put him to bed, and then see if that works. If that doesn't work, we'll do the switching every other day type of thing.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that I like it. I like that approach. So that way, both of them get to see us before they go to bed. At least get that experience, and we can also switch off with the reading of the books. Even though Jasleen doesn't really listen to us, because she picks up her own book and start reading her own book.
Whereas I think Leo will pay more attention.
Yes, which is fine, because she's doing good, because she's been around books since she was like a baby. She knew how to like hold a book upside down. She knew how to flip the pages. So she's just incredible when it comes to like books and handling her little library.
Yeah, she's pretty responsible with her books.
Yeah, she helps clean them up and all that type of things. Anything else about toddler terrorism?
Maybe that wasn't the best title.
Okay, fine. Let's call it Sour Patch Toddler.
There we go. Yeah. Sour Patch Toddlers. I like that because they can be sour, but they can also be sweet.
Yes.
And next thing you know, the sweetness is gone.
Exactly. That I don't know if you remember. I started calling Jasleen that maybe when she was like 1 year.
I don't remember.
It was a long time ago. I said, this girl is like a Sour Patch. And at that time, my thinking process was she was 95% sweet, and then the 5% was sour. But now that she's a toddler, I'm looking at a good 60-40.
60-40. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
60 sweet, 40 sour.
Yep. On a good day, yes. So she can get very sour toward her mom. And so 60% of the time she's very, very sweet. But she still hasn't lost her, her sense of empathy, being very kind, like, I'm sorry, thank you, all those things. Like, she still has those. But when she is screaming, she's screaming for good.
And I think as a parent, right, like, we are trying to parent differently than our parents did. Because if you did something wrong or you got in trouble for something, I was spanked.
Oh,
you
yeah.
were spanked.
Yeah.
Or I was screamed at.
Yeah.
Or something that we, a form of parenting that we just don't want to follow.
Right.
And so we try to stay calm, right? But it can be very hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it could get irritating for sure. And
like, I know, like the other day, she started hitting me for no reason. And I just started crying. Right. And I know I'm emotional, like I'm pregnant. I feel like that's a big part of it. But it was just like the frustration of like, what? I didn't say anything. I just started crying.
You didn't provoke her. I didn't
provoke her. No, right? Like normally if she's hitting, it's because I took away something. Right. Or I redirected her to do something else that she didn't want to do. But in this case, it was nothing. I wasn't even talking. Right. And all of a sudden I'm being hit, right? And as a parent, you have these internal battles where you have to bite your tongue so that you stay calm, so that you don't scream, so that you don't hurt her, Yeah. So you just have to show her love.
Yeah, you don't pass your trauma. Your is it trauma or trauma?
Trauma. Did you say tremor?
Trauma. So you don't pass down your trauma.
Trauma.
to her.
Okay, stop saying it because you're saying it wrong. What is wrong with you? It is trauma.
Trauma.
Yes.
Yeah. That. So to her. So I appreciate you being self-disciplined.
Yeah. I was talking with another parent that also has toddlers, and she was sharing, how a lot of times for hating, you just redirect and you help the child use their words.
Right.
Have them try and use their words to tell you how they're feeling, what they're thinking, etc.
Right.
That way you help them express themselves overall.
Right. That's always good because because it's not all the time that you remove things from them or take things from them or try to do the positive reinforcement, negative or whatever. So sometimes you just have to redirect the energy because they get hyper, they get so energetic. It's just a matter of redirecting the energy. Like sometimes I know when she's with your mom and she starts getting rowdy, I'll tell her, let's go on a walk. We'll go on a walk for like a good 10 to 15 minutes. And we come back. She's a little bit, tired because she's used some of the energy outside and it's hot, those type of things. So it's redirecting. I love that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that bringing in a distraction too, like every now and then I'm like, oh, look, what's over there? And like, let's go try this or do this or show her another toy or just something that will distract her. Yeah. Worst case scenario, try food. A lot of times you offer a snack. They love to eat. Yeah. And if you offer a snack, they'll be like, okay, snack.
Yep, for sure. If all of that fails, we bring in the television.
Yeah, which we try not to do too much, but every now and then.
Every now and then we watch some Coco, we watch some Encanto, we watch some Moana, those Disney classics. Yeah. Obvious. So that's how we do. So
I think another tip that I've gotten is to give her choices. Like for example, so you don't have a tantrum or a meltdown during bedtime, for example. When you're getting ready to read a book, have her pick the book. We have a full library for her. So obviously that's too many choices. But if I take out 2 or 3 books and say, okay, pick one from here, then you're kind of narrowing those choices for her, but also providing her flexibility. They like that sense of autonomy.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that in the morning too. When she wakes up, she goes into her closet and picks out the outfit of the day. She loves doing that. She tells you, I don't like that. I like this one. So she definitely loves having the choices of selecting her outfit.
Yeah. And I think to a certain extent too, she likes her schedule, right? Like she's very familiar with what her daily routine looks like. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to drink some milk and then I'm going to hang out with my baba for a little bit until grandma gets here. And then, day starts with grandma. You guys go on a walk, around 11?
Yep.
Then around noon, she's having lunch. Yep. And then at 1 o'clock, she's napping. Yep. So by the time she's waking up, mom is coming home. And then we start our afternoon. We're going to do dinner. We're going to go outside for a little bit, whether it's a walk or a playground or try to do something as long as the weather's nice. Right. And then we start getting ready for bed. Right. And I think she's she knows that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what she expects. Yeah. That's what she anticipates.
She's known that for a long time. Very routine based. Yes. You can't try to throw her off her routine. She would question you and trying to bring you back. We've mentioned before where if we're out at grandparents' house or out at the park, well, mostly at somebody's house, grandparents' house mostly, and it's already nearing 8 o'clock, she would actually pick up her shoes and try to tell you to leave.
Okay, bed. Yeah, she will. She'll make it known when she's ready to go. Yeah. She'll grab her shoes. Okay, go home. And I think that's great. We've done such a good job at teaching her what her routine is that I don't have an issue coming home from anywhere to make sure she gets in bed on time.
Right. Yeah, it's part of the process,
Mm-hmm.
and we love it. There's no question about that.
Yeah, part of like respecting her and her little boundaries as
Yes.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to add? Or let me ask you this then. So, based on all the stuff that we've talked about, do you still agree that this tantrums or whatever these behaviors are because of your pregnancy, or is it just because of the process of being a toddler
I
and
think the
growing
more
up?
we talked about it, the more I feel like it's the typical tantrums that come with age.
Okay. Or is it 50-50? Or it depends on the day?
The other thing I was thinking about too while we were talking is a lot of times she'll hit me, she aims towards my belly, but like height wise, my belly is directly in front of where her hand can reach.
Right.
So I don't think she's hitting my belly on purpose. I think she's
Okay.
hitting my belly just because like that's the first thing she finds.
Okay.
Um
That's just the physique.
Yeah, just based on her height and my height.
Yeah.
The closest thing she can reach is my stomach.
So the conclusion is?
I think it's more based on just her being a toddler.
Okay.
And her really starting to find her identity, her really testing her limits, trying to figure out what those are with us. I think one thing that we do well is like we're consistent.
Yeah.
With her.
Let's do this. This is the first time I want to try this. Let's see what the audience think about this. So we're going to ask you a question. Do you think that the misbehavior that's happening right now at 2.7 years old, is it due to being a toddler, or is it because mama is pregnant? So we want you to respond to this poll question because we want to see we want to see the numbers. We want to see the analytics. We want to see which side of the story or which side of the coin is this going to go. Is it because of the pregnancy, or is it just because it's part of being a toddler? I want you to respond to this. We're going to create a poll on the Spotify app. There's going to be a question that you can respond to directly. And I'm going to ensure that if we have enough responses, we will create another. We're going to come back to the studio, record an episode to explain the results of that poll. Do you want to do that? What do you think about that?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's how we basically put this to rest. Let's get the audience in, let them respond to the poll, and we'll go from there.
The one last point that I wanted to bring up is so when I was a teacher in general classroom, 3rd grade, like one big thing that we talked about with our students was having like logical consequences. Okay. And those are actions or responses that discourage the student from repeating the inappropriate behavior. It's basically you think of a way that you can discipline, but I'll give some examples.
Yeah.
Okay.
Example. Yep. All
right. So let's say you have an older child and they're watching TV. They're not. You ask them, "Hey, turn down the volume." Okay. Like for example, Leo and his iPad. Okay. Okay. When we say turn down the volume and he ignores us, what do? We take the iPad away. Right. You ask maybe 1 time, 2 times, but by time 3, that iPad is getting taken away because you did not listen. Right? Logical consequence. Okay. So basically, the punishment, air quote, should be relevant to the action. Yes, and it should be immediate. Okay. So for example, if you're out at the park, right, and your child does something, right, you cannot wait to discipline them until you come home. Right. You want to do it immediately, right? Right. So whatever the case is, you have to find a way to make sure that they understand the punishment at that moment. Okay. The consequence, it doesn't have to be a punishment, just the consequence, whatever action. So let's say that you're at the park and they're throwing rocks at the playground. Well, as an adult, you should say the rocks can hurt someone. Let's find something else we can throw. Right. You're not telling them not to throw. Right. You're telling them, let's throw something more safe.
Right.
You could throw a leaf or grass or
right.
whatever.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, or redirect them. Okay, instead of throwing them to the playground, you could throw them away from the playground where there's no one,
Sure.
there's no cars, there's nobody
into
inside.
The water or into the grass.
Into the water, into the grass. Yeah. And then also, when you talk about consequences, you want to make sure that if the act is done now, you should implement the consequences right away so that they can connect that this thing that I did is the consequence. I'm receiving this consequence because of what I did, because of this thing, and not wait until an hour passes by and then you say, okay, when we get home, you're going to do timeout because now they're saying, what did I do? Why am I being punished? What is this punishment for? Mm-hmm. So you don't want to get to that extent where they're questioning, what is this consequence for? So that's why you have to implement the consequence right away when they do the action.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is you want to teach a child to learn to regulate their emotions, their body. So you want to make sure the consequence is related to the negative behavior that they're doing. Okay. That you're keeping in mind how you can be respectful towards the child. Okay. You should communicate what the consequence is, and you should also enforce it. And just keeping in mind, like, this is a little human who's still learning to process their emotions, their feelings. Yeah. Teach them how to do it. Yeah,
that's important. Because sometimes we forget that we're actually dealing with 5-year-olds, we're dealing with 2-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings me to my next point. Like, it has to be reasonable. You have to come up with something that's reasonable for their age and their understanding, too. Right. Yeah, that's important. I think those are good reminders. Like our child, for example, she likes to, we have coloring time. And during coloring time, a lot of the time she'll want to start biting the crayons. And we get those big jumbo ones. We don't get the little ones. Right. But when she starts biting them, we're going to take them away. Right. Then they might be off limit for a little while. Right. Even if she asks about it, we'll say no because you bit the crayon. Yeah. You can't eat the crayon. That's not safe. That's not healthy for you. Right. Because at the end of the day, right, like, you're still a parent and you want to make sure that the kid is doing.
Yeah. They're safe.
Keeping themselves safe.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, that's our number one goal, is to keep them healthy and safe. And so whatever that we need to do that is what needs to be done. And if that means that they would be annoyed because there's a consequence for their actions, I guess that's what it is. Hopefully they learn a thing or two that they should stay away from things that they shouldn't be doing. And from parents or guardians, it's good to remember that we're dealing with very, very young and little human beings. And so we should, constantly be remembered.
And the way that we, like, regulate our emotions, like when they do something wrong, the way that we react, we're also teaching them how to react. Exactly. Right? Yeah. If you start yelling, they're going to start yelling right at you when they're in moments of frustration.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. They are sponges.
They are.
They literally take in what you drop down. So it's like a mop. So for sure, you definitely, your goal as a parent, you're also modeling behaviors. And so how we love on each other, they see all of those things. How we talk to each other, they see all of those things. How we talk to them, they see all of those things. So definitely we should be very mindful of our actions, our behaviors, sign language. Is it sign language? No, not sign language. Body language. I'm off to there. Trauma. Trauma. So anything else?
No, that's it. Say trauma 5 times. Ready, set, go.
Trauma. Trauma is a drama.
It sounded like you said tremor.
Trauma is a drama. But anyway, we just wanted to come in and like we said, we're going to have a poll question, respond to the poll question, and we'll come back to the studio and give you the results.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of How We're Doing It. We want to hear from you. Contact us at hwdipodcast@gmail.com or leave a comment. If you like the show, consider subscribing in order to get notified of new episodes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again on the next episode.
Mama. Papa.